Here's the revised script without the numbers. Could there be something biblically significant happening in this nation? Sweden, situated on the Scandinavian peninsula in northern Europe, has piqued the curiosity of many biblical scholars and believers who focus on end-time prophecies ever since stories like this emerged a few years back. Yes, that's accurate. Some Swedes have begun implanting microchips into their hands. But why does this intrigue Christians worldwide? It relates to a passage in Revelation 13, verses 16 to 17. The scripture describes a future where all individuals, regardless of status, are compelled to receive a mark on their right hands or foreheads. Without this mark, which symbolizes the name or number of the beast, they cannot engage in commerce. The Bible outlines a period where the Antichrist will enforce such a mark to control buying and selling. While the Antichrist hasn't been revealed yet, Christians view the Swedish news as noteworthy because the technology needed for this prophecy appears to exist. What's concerning is that these chips are designed to streamline daily tasks and enhance convenience. From unlocking doors at home, work, and the gym to storing emergency contacts and social media profiles, these microchips serve multiple purposes, including functioning as digital tickets for events and train rides in Sweden. Let's delve into the significance of this development. A widely held belief among Christians is that the mark of the beast could manifest as a physical microchip embedded beneath the skin. This scenario is plausible because the Antichrist is expected to dominate a globally interconnected economy, acting as a one-world ruler who dictates the terms of trade and commerce. Allegiance to him might be enforced through a mandatory mark, as purchasing and selling would be impossible without it. There could very well be a time when everyone faces a critical decision: accept the mark, potentially an implanted chip, or suffer severe persecution by the Antichrist. I encountered a compelling and well-articulated statement by Dr. Ray Pritchard, president of Keep Believing Ministries. Here's what he conveyed. Regarding the Antichrist, there are aspects we understand and others that remain uncertain. We know an Antichrist will arise, but his exact identity is still unknown. We are aware that the Antichrist will emerge from a resurrected form of the Roman Empire, though the specific region within it remains unclear. It is known that he will collaborate closely with the false prophet, whose identity also remains a mystery. Scripture indicates that he will appear to die and then revive, though the method of this event is unknown. While many possible candidates have been suggested, we know he will ultimately gain control over the global economy, although the means by which he achieves this power is uncertain. His followers will be marked, yet the exact nature of this mark is not fully understood. The number associated with his name is 666, though its precise significance is still debated. The Antichrist is referred to by various titles in Scripture. He is called the Little Horn in Daniel 7, the Prince who is to come in Daniel 9, the Man of Lawlessness in Thessalonians 2, the Antichrist in 1 John 2, and the Beast from the Sea in Revelation 13. Let me emphasize that this is no time for complacent Christianity. This era demands full devotion to God and a life wholly committed to Jesus Christ. It's essential to align oneself with God. Ultimately, everyone will be faced with a pivotal decision to choose Jesus Christ or the Antichrist. The Antichrist is a central figure in the book of Revelation, representing not merely a symbol of evil but the very embodiment of it. Allow me to provide a concise overview of this malevolent world leader as described by Daniel, John, Jesus, and Paul. The Antichrist will be a man possessed by Satan with the primary goal of annihilating everything beloved by God. Initially, he will pretend to be humble but is, in fact, exceedingly arrogant. The Bible names him the man of sin. He will demonstrate seemingly miraculous signs and wonders and even assert his divinity, though he is far from divine. Similar to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, his true nature will be concealed at first, revealing his deceitful and dangerous character. Resembling the cunning and ruthless Lex Luthor, the Antichrist will be malicious and relentless. Historical figures like Hitler, Mao, Stalin, Genghis Khan, Nero, Caligula, and Herod were notorious for their cruelty and bloodlust. However, the Antichrist will surpass them all, becoming the most infamous villain in history. His disdain for God's plan and people, coupled with the extent of suffering he will cause, will be unparalleled. Daniel chapter 2 speaks of a vision of a statue composed of various elements: gold, silver, and bronze. Each segment of the statue represents a future kingdom. The feet, particularly the 10 toes, symbolize the 10-part kingdom of the end times, which the Antichrist will govern. Daniel 7 further explains that the Antichrist will arise from among 10 kings. There is a belief that the Antichrist will come to control 10 regions or nations, forming a 10-nation alliance in Europe reminiscent of a resurrected Roman Empire. Some suggest he will build upon the legacies of historically significant figures like Alexander the Great, Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, or Caesar. Prophetic writings suggest that as the Antichrist ascends to power, 3 nations, kings, or factions within his sphere of influence will revolt. However, according to the prophet Daniel, this uprising will be swiftly quashed, paving the way for a dominant new world order with the Antichrist as its supreme leader. While interpretations of these prophecies vary, it is generally agreed that the Antichrist's influence will eventually span all major global institutions, including religion, the economy, government, and military. The Antichrist is anticipated to be captivating, charming, politically astute, and perceptive. Through strategic alliances and adept diplomacy, he will gather backing and be propelled into power. World leaders are expected to champion his rise. Although he will present himself as a pacifist, his underlying agenda will include the destruction of millions. Many interpret Daniel chapter 9 as indicating the Antichrist's rise at the commencement of the 70 weeks prophecy. In prophetic terms, a week represents 7 years, suggesting that his ascendancy coincides with the final or 70th week of Daniel's prophecy and the 7-year tribulation outlined in the book of Revelation. Most biblical scholars believe the Antichrist will emerge on the global stage by negotiating a peace treaty between Israel and its adversaries, as depicted in Daniel 9. This peace accord, rather than war or the rapture, will mark the beginning of the 7-year tribulation period with a focus on Israel. The agreement might even allow Israel to rebuild the Third Temple. However, this peace will be short-lived. Initially, the Antichrist will be celebrated as an exceptional and insightful leader, proposing solutions to various global challenges. Many anticipate that the world will be in turmoil when he appears, perhaps following a war, a new pandemic, an economic collapse, or the rapture of the church. Amidst the chaos, he will emerge with a plan and assurances of global salvation. His deceptions and promises will be alluring and persuasive. A weary and searching world will rally behind him. "Entrust me with control, and I will restore peace and order," he will proclaim. "Believe in me, for I know the way." However, he will be deceitful, masking his true intentions, and desperate nations will yield authority to this seemingly benevolent leader. Over time, he will take control of all major global systems and establish a unified world government. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, as depicted in Revelation 6, give an overview of the events during the tribulation period and highlight the Antichrist's role as these events unfold. Before delving further, it is crucial to clarify a point. Various scriptures, including Daniel chapters 6 through 9, Matthew 24, 1 Thessalonians 5, 2 Thessalonians 2, and Revelation chapters 6 and 11, refer to the Antichrist as a specific individual. Contemporary scholars often denote this individual with a capital A as a unique title. However, the Apostle John, who authored the book of Revelation, also wrote 3 epistles, wherein he employs the term Antichrist without capitalization. In his letters, particularly in 1 John 2:18 and 1 John 4:2-3, John describes Antichrists with a lowercase a as those who oppose God's will. He observed that in his time there were numerous Antichrists, and that many more would arise in the last days. Thus, Scripture provides two definitions for the term Antichrist. The lowercase Antichrist refers to individuals who consciously oppose God's will, while the uppercase Antichrist denotes a specific person who will be inhabited by Satan and ascend to power during the tribulation. The Bible reveals that this Antichrist will perform supernatural signs and wonders, deceiving many through demonic influence. By the midpoint of the tribulation, he will claim divinity. However, Daniel 7:24-25 makes it clear that the Antichrist will be a man. Philippians 2 asserts that Jesus was both fully human and fully divine, a unique blend referred to as the hypostatic union. Jesus was the first and only to embody this dual nature. In contrast, the Antichrist will falsely claim divinity and demand worship as God. Revelation 13 describes him suffering a seemingly fatal head wound and then miraculously recovering, a stark contrast to the genuine resurrection of Jesus. Despite his claims, the Antichrist will remain human, a man possessed by Satan. Satan is not a creator, but a destroyer and imitator. In Revelation, Satan mimics the Holy Trinity through the dragon Satan himself, the beast the Antichrist, and the false prophet, another human who supports the beast's agenda. The Antichrist, though a man, will be extraordinary. Daniel 8 portrays him as fierce in appearance, proud, arrogant, and capable of compelling many to submit to his will. He will present himself as a modest man of peace, but his underlying savagery and ruthlessness will be unparalleled. He won't hesitate to obliterate anything or anyone that obstructs his path to absolute power. According to the Bible, he will be accompanied by a miraculous ally known as the false prophet. This false prophet will advocate for the Antichrist's ascent to power and is likely to lead the new global religion of the last days, serving as the main supporter of what Jesus referred to as the abomination of desolation. Daniel 8:25 suggests that the Antichrist will promote deception and cunning. The Hebrew term used here implies a deceiver, someone who leads others through fraud, falsehood, deceit, and treachery. These character traits, while certainly negative, are not necessarily unique. The Antichrist will embody deceit and falsehood, harbor hatred for God, and will be treacherous and prideful. He will have a following of loyalists, claim divinity, and demonstrate demonic abilities. However, scholars argue that these traits are not unprecedented, as over 100 individuals have professed divinity or supernatural capabilities in the past. What distinguishes the Antichrist will be the magnitude and repercussions of these intensified qualities on the world. Revelation 6-8 suggests that 1/4 of the world's population will perish during the first four sealed judgments in the early stages of the tribulation. The tribulations and resulting deaths will occur because many have been misled by Satan, with the Antichrist serving as his representative during this period. If humanity collectively turned to Christ and rejected Satan, the tribulation period could be avoided. As it stands, the Antichrist will bear responsibility for the deaths of billions. This period marks only the first half of the tribulation, with the persecution of the faithful intensifying as it progresses. Around this time, the Antichrist will appear to suffer a fatal head wound. While some debate the specifics, most believe that the Antichrist, a mortal man, will die. Days later, however, Satan will reportedly inhabit the body, creating the illusion of a resurrection. The Antichrist will claim to have resurrected himself, a futile mimicry of Jesus' ministry, where the Bible recounts Jesus laying down his life and rising again. Many will be led astray by this deception. Many will declare the Antichrist to be divine. At this juncture, he will nearly monopolize control over the world's systems, consolidating them into a singular global government, religion, and economy. Prophecy foretells that a new, third Jewish temple will be reconstructed before the tribulation reaches its midpoint. The Antichrist will desecrate this temple, declare himself God, and demand global worship. Assisted by the false prophet, the Antichrist will implement a new system to determine who is a loyal follower. To demonstrate allegiance, one must receive a mark on their hand or forehead known as the mark of the beast. This mark will ingeniously link to one's ability to engage in commerce. It will likely be a digital device tracking movements and storing personal and financial data. Without this mark, buying, selling, maintaining a traditional job, attending school, running a business, or obtaining medical care will be impossible. In the best-case scenario, those who reject the mark will face severe economic adversity. Many will lose their homes and businesses, leading to family suffering, starvation, and deaths due to inadequate medical care. That's the best-case scenario. Those who decline the mark will be labeled enemies of the state, pursued like criminals. Revelation 13 ties this mark to a number, 666. The Bible doesn't say all who accept the mark will be branded with 666, but the number is linked to the beast, the Antichrist. Although the precise meaning isn't crystal clear, the number 666 likely carries substantial symbolic weight with multiple layers of interpretation. For instance, in Hebrew culture, the number 6 is associated with man, while 7 signifies God and the divine. Moreover, repeating something 3 times in Hebrew culture is the pinnacle of emphasis. Thus, the number 666 might underscore the Antichrist's human and flawed nature, especially as he claims to be God and demands worship. While there may be debate or disagreement over the mark's numeric significance, there is no debate about the implications of taking the mark. Accepting the mark of the beast signifies loyalty and allegiance to the Antichrist. Those who refuse will be arrested and placed into modern-day concentration camps. The gravity of the situation raises the question, why is taking the mark so detrimental? Proponents of the mark might argue it's merely a method to streamline the economy or enhance government service coordination, including medical care. Take the mark and take care of your family, they will say. They'll frame it as a practical economic choice, a way to keep your job and buy groceries. But despite the economic implications, taking the mark transcends a simple financial decision. It is a profound spiritual commitment. By accepting the mark, individuals are pledging their allegiance to the Antichrist, proclaiming their belief in his divinity and supposed resurrection. Yes, coercion will be rampant. Under severe threats, many will feel compelled to accept the mark. Revelation 13:15 warns that the false prophet and his followers will ensure the death of those who refuse to worship the Antichrist's image. But those who choose the mark will face a dire spiritual consequence. Revelation 14:9-11 cautions that anyone who worships the beast and accepts his mark will endure the full wrath of God, suffering torment in the presence of the holy angels and the Lamb. Their suffering will be unending, and their restlessness perpetual. Accepting the mark means forfeiting any hope of heaven. It's a decision with eternal ramifications. The latter half of the tribulation's 3.5 years, known as the Great Tribulation, will witness increasingly severe divine judgments. The bowl judgments will afflict the earth with catastrophic consequences. Those marked by the beast will suffer painful sores, the oceans will become poisonous, all marine life will perish, and shipping will come to a halt. The resulting reduction in oxygen production will have dire effects. Fresh water sources will turn to blood, leading to the death of aquatic life. A diminished sunlight will disrupt ecosystems, and a profound darkness will engulf the earth, causing the wicked to gnaw their tongues in agony. Yet, despite these afflictions, the followers of the Antichrist will persist in their defiance. The drying up of the Euphrates River will pave the way for a massive eastern army to march west, culminating in the final confrontation at Armageddon. The earth will be shaken by an unprecedented earthquake, accompanied by lightning flashes and massive hailstones. The Antichrist's deliberate disobedience will trigger these ultimate judgments. The situation will be so dire that Scripture notes without divine intervention, survival would be impossible. In his fury, the Antichrist will organize a campaign against Israel and the faithful followers of Christ gathered in Jerusalem, leading to the climactic battle in the plains of Armageddon. Thank Nayu for watching Daily Logos, we inspiring faith and impacting change.